Hello everyone, and welcome to St Michael's for our tour round the church. I'll just say hello. Hello, I'm outside the church at the moment and we're going to go in. The first thing I'm going to show you from the outside though is the tower and the main part of the building. That's our church tower, and in the church tower we've got some bells. The bells are used to tell people when we're worshipping, and we have a lovely set of bells and make a beautiful noise. There's the church. That's the church tower. And you can see that we have a churchyard, and there are lots of graves here. Some of them are very old. Some of them go back 200 or 300 years, but there's been a graveyard here for hundreds and hundreds of years, more than that, perhaps 800 years. But some of the stones here date back to 1600s and times like that, hundreds of years ago. We're very lucky to have such an ancient church. I'm going to walk towards the church now, getting closer. There's the door, very important to have a door. We're going in now. And the first thing you'll see when we come into church are the notice boards. And the notice boards tell people things that are going to happen in church. There's notice of telling us about a meeting, there's a service at another church, another meeting there, and just information that's very important for people to know that things are going on. Here we are now, we're in church. Now the first thing I'm going to show you when we come into church is the font. And the font is very important because it's the font where people are christened. When you're christened, you're officially made a member of the church. And we have the font. Traditionally, fonts are usually found near the church door. And you can see that as I go back again. So you come in and you come to the font. And people are baptized with water. We put water in the font and we baptize them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. And it's near the door because that reminds us that you enter the church physically through the door, but you enter the church as a Christian through being baptized, and that's very important. So we'll look round the main part of the building, the bit we call the nave. And you can see that we have these wooden bench sort of things. They're called pews. Churches don't have to have pews. Some churches have ordinary seats. In the past, churches perhaps wouldn't have any seats. People would stand up. But anyway, we have pews here, and people can sit on them, because when we're worshipping, sometimes we sit, sometimes we kneel, and sometimes we stand. The pews are important to help us do those things. We've got banners that you can see. These have been made by people in the village and church members. That's the Easter one. It says, Christ is risen. I don't want to turn too quick. I don't want to make you dizzy. That's the Good Friday one with the crosses. It's the one that just says love, because God is love. And that's the one about the village. It's got Cochrane School on it. Now then, we're moving towards the front of the church, the east end of the church, and straight away we come to two very important things that we have in church. This is what we call a lectern, and it's from the lectern that we read passages, bits from the Bible, and we read them whenever we have whenever we worship together. We always have a reading from the Bible. On a Sunday morning we have 3 readings from the Old Testament and 2 from the New. And this is a special book that we use. Got an extra big print on it so we can help people to read. Now then, next to that, we have the pulpit. And the pulpit is very important because it's from the pulpit that we teach. And the special word for teaching in church is preaching. And so we preach from the church, explain things in the gospel, hopefully try and say things that help us live our lives as Christians. It's quite high up, the pulpit, that's so that people can see and hear what's going on. I'll climb into the pulpit for you, shall I? Here we go. Into the pulpit. So when you're in the pulpit, you can see right across the church. People can see you. Come down from the pulpit. And the part of the church we're in now, we have the choir stalls. That's where I sit, that's my seat. This, if we have a choir, they sit here. Now I'm going to show you something now, something else special. This is our Paschal candle, and it's the candle that we light at Easter, when we celebrate Jesus rising to new life, and we light it every time we have a service during the Easter time. We light this candle. And so this is the last week of Easter, because on this coming Sunday, it's what we call Pentecost, when we celebrate the Holy Spirit coming into the world. Now then, before we get to the altar, I'm going to show you something else. The important part of being of Christian worship very often is music. And we're very lucky here at St. Michael's. We have a beautiful organ. I'm meant to open these up for you. There we go, that's the keyboard. And the pipes. And we sing hymns. Some churches have other kinds of instruments. Might have a piano, might have a band. In Glasson, we're very lucky. We have an organ and also another lady who comes along and plays the violin for us. Now then, we're coming towards the altar. And before we get to the altar, I'm going to show you something. When people like me, priests, lead worship, we often wear special clothes because we're doing something special. And when we're having a service of Holy Communion, we wear these special robes. They're different colours of the year. There's a white, and we wear white to celebrate special celebrations like Easter and Christmas. And there's red. We'll have red this Sunday because it's Pentecost, celebrating the Holy Spirit, and red is the colour for the Holy Spirit and for saints. We've got purple behind, and that's for a serious time, or special words, solemn, and that's when we use that for Advent, as we're getting ready for Christmas, and for Lent, when we're getting ready for Easter. And then for times of the year when there's no special celebrations, we wear green, and it's like sort of a poncho that we wear over ourselves, and it's what Romans actually used to wear in ancient times for the special days and special celebrations. So now we're going to go towards the altar. Before we talk about the altar, can you see because of the light? I'm lifting up the camera and we can see our window. It's a stained glass window. It's got pictures in it. And we have other ones in the church around the place. And we have stained glass because, partly because they're beautiful, the scenes from the Bible. In the past, before people could read, there'd often be paintings on the wall. But they're not just decorations, actually. They're there to be beautiful, to look at, and to help us think and pray. And now we're coming towards the altar, a very special area in church, and it's on here that we say Holy Communion. Now, because we're in white, we've still got some of the white things that we use when we're getting ready to celebrate. Now, on the altar now, we have something to hold the bread. We put bread in here and wine in there, because on the night before Jesus was arrested, he gave us the wonderful service of Holy Communion. And he said, this bread is my body given for you, and this wine is my blood given for you. And the most important act of worship that Christians do when we're together is to have Holy Communion. You'll notice that there are candles on the altar. Candles are symbols of the light of Christ and also of prayer. And there's a cross behind, and crosses, we have the cross there to remind us what Jesus did for us on the cross, and that's the most important Christian symbol. I'm going to turn around slowly. I'm very conscious of not wanting to make you dizzy. On the walls there are plaques remembering people who've been vicars here in the past, and also remembering some soldiers who lost their lives in the war, First World War in this case. Here we have our Mothers' Union banner. That reminds us that there are all sorts of organisations within the church, and Mothers' Union is one that's very important. It's what reminds us of the importance of family and mums and all that sort of thing. There we have the church. We'll go back down. I'll walk us to the door. There. I'll walk us to the stairs, actually. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the tour. Hope you've been able to hear what I've said. I look forward perhaps another time to bringing you in and showing you around in person. But for now, I hope this will do. Take care. Bye-bye.